Welcome to Regis World Literature. This is Lesson 23, the grammar section, and we're going to talk today about commas. This will be the first section of commas. Commas are perhaps the most complex punctuation in the English language, I think, and that's because there are so many different ways you can use the comma. And sometimes it is imperative, and sometimes you have some choices. So we are going to look at this very carefully, and we'll take one section at a time. The introduction is that the comma is one of the most commonly used punctuation marks in English. Commas are the same in appearance as apostrophes, but they are placed on the bottom line of the text in the same location as periods. So I think you know that if we said the word haven't, this is an abbreviation for have not, and that would be an apostrophe with the marking placed high. Okay, but if we said he was a sad boy, and I'm going to follow that with something else. I'll put a comma, same marking, placed on the bottom line of the text. Okay. So this is an apostrophe, and this is a comma. Pretty sure you know that. Generally speaking, commas are used to connect two or more elements in a sentence, but the way in which they do this varies widely, and here comes the complexity, depending on what these elements are and how they are arranged in the sentence. The first thing we're going to talk about is joining independent clauses. Now, we've given you some instruction in this before, but some of you were having difficulty putting this into practice. Joining independent clauses. The instruction goes like this. When we link two or more closely related independent clauses together to form a compound sentence, we usually do so by adding a comma followed by a coordinating conjunction. Do you recall that? The coordinating conjunctions, again, you want to know this list if you did not master it earlier. Conjunction combines things, and, or, and, but, or, so, for, nor, or, yet. Or yet. The second or was part of a phrase. Okay, so and, but, I like to just do it with the rhyming ones, or, nor, for, so, and yet. So altogether, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coordinating conjunctions to remind you, and you want to know that list. So when you are adding one independent clause, that means it can stand as a sentence on its own with another independent clause that is closely related to the first one, rather than just making them two individual sentences, you have the choice to combine them with a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Just like that. For example, the family moved into the new house and the neighbors welcomed them warmly. We don't want just two widely disparate sentences. We want two sentences that are closely joined with ideas, and you would put a comma and between that. Let me repeat it. It says the family moved into the house, comma, and the neighbors welcomed them warmly, period. Another one. She wanted to play tennis, but he wanted to play basketball. So the two sentences are she wanted, independent clause, she wanted to play tennis. Second sentence, he wanted to play basketball. They're closely joined, and so we will include them in the same sentence with a but, comma, but. She wanted to play tennis, comma, but he wanted to play basketball. We call this whole thing a compound sentence, just like that. Okay. The next one, we can go to the movies tonight, comma, or we can just stay home. We can go to the movies tonight, comma, or we can just stay home. Again, with a period at the end, joined with a coordinating conjunction, and a comma, and then the coordinating conjunction, and we call it a compound sentence. So you're getting better at those in your writing, so I won't belabor that. It says, we can also use a semicolon instead of a comma to join independent clauses. The semicolon can either stand on its own or be used with a conjunctive adverb. Note that we must always use a comma with a conjunctive adverb, as it is acting as an introductory element. Let me give you an example of that. So this is one way to join two independent. This is the general rule, coordinating conjunction. One independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction, the second independent clause. Or we could do one independent clause with a semicolon. Now let's look at how that works. There's two ways it can work here. So our example with the semicolon would be, we can go to the movies tonight. We can go to the movies tonight, semicolon. However, I would rather just stay home. So this is going to be my conjunctive adverb. However, notice it's not on my list of 7 coordinating conjunctions. This is a different part of speech. However, comma, I would rather just stay home, period. So here we have this second rule, okay, and we could have, here's another example, rather than going into my own. She wanted to play tennis, semicolon, he wanted to play basketball. Okay. So both these examples use the semicolon to join two independent clauses. With a semicolon. One having a conjunctive adverb, and notice that will require a comma afterwards. Or you could just have them lined up, independent clause 1, independent clause 2, with no preliminary word there introducing the second one. And so let me give you the examples again. We can go to the movies tonight, semicolon, however, comma, I would rather just stay home. Or something like, she wanted to play tennis, semicolon, he wanted to play basketball. So you should definitely know these rules. We've actually covered these rules before in the fall semester. This is two independent clauses with the comma and a coordinating conjunction, and this is two independent clauses with the semicolon on the right-hand side. Now, let's talk about one more idea here for today. I think that'll be all. A comma splice occurs when we try to join two independent clauses using only a comma on its own. And I'm consistently marking your papers with RO. Although I will say you've gotten better. RO meaning a run-on sentence. Okay, it is a type of run-on. More properly, it is labeled a comma splice. The comma alone, however, is not strong enough to separate two independent clauses. For instance, if I were to say, my brother is a very good swimmer, there's my first one. I'm a better runner. There's my second one. You do not do that with just a comma. That is incorrect, always incorrect. What would you need? You would need this example right here, the semicolon. So to make it correct, my brother is a very good swimmer, semicolon, I'm a better runner. Luckily, the mistake, the text goes on to say, it's easy to correct using any of the methods for forming compound sentences that we've already described. So we could have just corrected that with a semicolon. We could correct it with a comma and a coordinating conjunction, but I am a better runner. Or we could correct it with a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. So it's also adding as a combiner. A conjunction combines things together. However, I am a better runner. So let's try to write that word correctly. However, comma, I am a better runner. 3 choices to correct it. Okay, I would be very, very happy if you studied just this section and know it well. How would I want you to know it? I would want you to know there are 2 main ways to join independent clauses. 1, using a comma with a coordinating conjunction, and 2, using a semicolon. Okay? Or you could think of it as just 3 ways, because there's 2 ways to use it with a semicolon. So the 3 ways are going to be a comma with a coordinating conjunction, a semicolon by itself, or a semicolon with a coordinating adverb like however, okay, with a comma after that. Okay, and we're always talking about joining 2 independent clauses. That means that the sentence on both sides, each sentence could stand alone as a sentence. We could make this 2 sentences, but we like to join ideas that are related together. So these are good choices, and you want to know all 3 types, and you want to know what a comma splice is. That's when I try to join it just with a comma. Notice that is not on my list. And you want to know the 7 coordinating conjunctions and an example of a conjunctive adverb. I'm sure we'll talk more about different forms or different examples of conjunctive adverbs later, but the one they're using so far is the word however. So if you master that, I'll be happy with this week. Thank you.